2, 1. I don't know. Hello, everybody, and thank you so much for your patience. We just spent the last few minutes just kind of catching up, and we're keeping an eye on your comments. Thanks to everybody that's joining in. We really appreciate it. We are here with Mr. Armin Shimmerman and, of course, Malissa Longo. Cirroc Lofton was here, and then he left, and now he's back again.
All right, let's see. I switched headphones.
What's up, Cirroc? Can you hear us okay?
I can hear you now, yeah.
We just started like 5 seconds ago. It's perfect timing. We just said it's Armin and Malissa, and here's Cirroc.
All right, well, it worked out. I decided to switch headsets because I felt like I was getting no sound. I could only hear you, Melissa.
She's still needed to hear.
Yeah, if you could only hear one person, that's probably the right one anyway.
That's the right one. Today's a very special day. I was showing you earlier that I had my gloves on for my man. Got also the flannels on, so we're ready to go.
Oh, nice! You got the flannel and the headband.
And I got the whole
and the gloves. Oh, that's so
this
good.
Is an homage.
Fish out the beanie or the gloves. just the flannel.
Just the flannel. Yeah, he made the flannel popular.
Melissa, did he ever take the cap off?
Go to sleep.
I'm not sure. You would know. So
yes, every once in a while.
Nice.
Yeah.
So I heard you were at the beach or something, celebrating a little bit earlier.
Yeah, I went to the beach. It was the beach that Aron took me to. So it was our beach, I guess, because that's where we would always go. So, yeah. Walked in the sand and, put my feet in the ocean and almost got knocked out by the ocean. And so sat on some rocks and watched the tide come in. So.
Very quickly, Cirroc, Anne-Marie wanted to comment on your outfit. Out there.
For our man.
How are you, Armin? By the way, thank you so much for joining in.
I have no complaints except for the fact that everything in the world is going to hell in a handbasket. But I wish the world were in a better place. I'm in a good place, but everything around me is, forgive me, shit. But thank you for asking.
Yeah.
Katie Carr says hello to
Katie
Melissa.
Carr. Hi, Katie.
She's our resident Twitter ballerina.
Yeah.
So I don't really know what we should talk about here, but I guess it would be nice to hear if Armin or Cirroc remembers their very first impressions of Aron when you first met him. Was he like a ball of lightning, or was he just like this quiet guy that just kind of, you don't really remember the day you met him because he was super
quiet. I do have a question for Malissa, but I'll ask her after I've responded to what you asked about. Certainly, I think, and maybe Malissa will remember better than I, but not remember, but I'm sure Aron told her the story. But I think on my first day of work at Deep Space Nine, I believe it was the first day that I was on the set, Aron was there as well. And because I did not know about his kidney condition at that moment, I just assumed he was the same age as Cirroc. And he was a ball of fire. He was just so excited about being on the set and in the makeup, which it's hard for me to believe. I'm not so sure he was delighted by it later on. Maybe he was. Maybe I'm sure he was actually. He liked the makeup much more than I did. But he was a ball of fire, and he was excited to be there. And I thought, if I'm going to spend a lot of time with this young person, and I thought he was a young person at the time. He's still a young person, but not as young as I thought. This is going to be fun. And I was right. It was a lot of fun. And Aron, there wasn't a day when I worked with Aron that it wasn't a lot of fun. There weren't bad days with Aron. We all had bad days, but not with Aaron. Not with Aaron.
Yeah.
And that's not an elaboration. That's the God honest truth.
Yeah.
Real quick, our buddies over at Orville Nation say they are talking about Aaron on several different YouTube channels right now. Thanks to Orville Nation. Cirroc, do you remember your first impression of Aaron, or was the first time you saw him he was already in makeup?
Well, I almost always exclusively saw him in makeup because he was there hours before I was preparing. But the thing I think really is interesting and I come to learn about Aaron was that your first impression of him is not really an accurate one. If you see him in the beginning, you may think, oh, he's a little bit obnoxious, or he's overzealous, or he's a little bit, maybe he's playing with me, so he might be toying with me with his conversation. And so you might think he's poking fun at you, or you might just get a wrong read on it. But really what he's doing is endearing himself to you. And after some time, you start to realize his sense of humor. You realize his passion for what he was doing. And you realize that he really had this a tremendous amount of love inside him that he wanted to give and share with people. But he wanted to make sure he shared it with you after poking fun at you, or after ribbing with you, and testing to see the kind of person you were, and how you would respond to how he was. So I feel like I've been completely impressed and enamored with Aaron, who I've learned that he was over time. It's not just the initial, okay, who is this guy and he's nice or not nice. But I think it's more like, wow, this guy is so layered. He's so deep. He's so compassionate. He has such this great understanding of what's going on from the dynamics of the filming that we're doing, but also the world, like what's going on with the world, what's happening with politics, what's happening culturally, how are people being treated in the world, how advancements in medicine are helping people like him, go through what he's going through. And he was just so concerned about people and their experience and how he could help, or how he could give some input on improving their lives. And I don't think that really comes across when you meet him in the beginning and you just see him right away. You're like, okay, you might have an opinion, but you really don't get to know how much he cares until you start to really peel back the person he is and start to get to know him and have these conversations and really just have a huge spot reserved for him as far as just how you connect with him. It starts to wear on you. And you start connecting to it, and you think, "Well, I love this guy, man. I like his jokes. I like the way he ribs me. I like how he doesn't let anything slide. If I'm eating some food and it's spilling on my shirt, he'll say something about it.
For years,
for years. But it was always in this way where it was so genuine. It wasn't meant to bring you down or cut you down. He wasn't saying things to humiliate people or to make them feel less than. It was always a way to endear himself to you so that you could have jokes and joke around, and then he can get to the serious things, which is what he wanted to talk about, his passions in life.
And I may add to that, if he joked with you, if he said something a little bit rude, almost immediately he would apologize. He would say, I don't take, so that he got the barb out, and as I think you're absolutely right, Cirroc, he immediately endeared himself to you. He never said anything cruel that I knew of, and if he did, he immediately apologized. It was meant as a joke, and you knew almost immediately it was a joke. But he was passionate about many things, and certainly passionate about his craft. We talked about the craft a lot, he and I.
Mm-hmm. Very quickly, just a couple things that people have said. Ian says, I love when Armin shares stories about Aaron. They're always so sweet, like an uncle discussing a nephew.
That's absolutely true. I thought of him as part of my family the same way I did about Max. we were family. We had to be. We were encased in all that rubber together, and we knew exactly what each one was suffering. So there was a bonding there. Besides the plastic and the cement, there was a bonding because of what the experience that we were going through, and of course, many stories were around the three of us. So we were very, very close that way. And I'm sure Cirroc feels the same way because he had tons of stories with Aron.
Just want to say thank you to Raymond. Hello. Thank you to Kat R. King, who's joined us. We were just actually talking about you before we went live, Kat, about you at STLV. So thanks for all the fun there. Also, a quick shout out to the USS Aron Eisenberg that has just been commissioned by John Tuffarella over at Kazon Cards in upstate New York. That was just a couple days ago. I missed the commissioning, but I hear it went very well. So thanks for being always.
Yeah, I got a chance to stop in for that commissioning, and the guy
Good.
sent me an invite, and it was a really special thing that that we were able to get together and pay tribute to Aron in that way. Those guys over there, John Tuffarella, Rex Wood, and a whole host of others doing such a tremendous job at keeping Aron Eisenberg's memory alive and celebrating him. So I want to say thank you to everybody for inviting me, and it was a real honor.
And Heather Jordan is part of that group as well, and she's here in the comments as well. But Armin, you said you had a question for Malissa. I didn't want to lose that.
I'm a nosy son of a bitch, and so I have a question. I never got this story from Aron, or you for that matter, so perhaps might now be a good time to tell me and the others. How did you and Aron meet?
Ooh, I was hoping you'd ask that.
It's funny because we met on Facebook.
Wow.
Yeah. I was a first run watcher of Deep Space Nine as a teenager, and I was a part of the Deep Space Nine group on Facebook, and I saw somebody had posted a picture of Nog and the episode of It's Only a Paper Moon, and then Aron had put a comment below it, and I was like, oh, that's kind of neat that he commented on the photo. And so I was like, I'll send him a friend request. What the heck? Why not? What do I've got to lose? And then he accepted, and I thought that's as far as it went. But he had been doing a little Facebook stalking of me, and so he sent me a message about some schools that I had gone to for acting in New York. So I was kind of taken aback, I didn't expect him to talk to me. So just, pop in to see what's going on in his life. And then we were acquaintances for quite a while on Facebook. And then I had done this water challenge, and it was drinking a gallon of water in a certain amount of time. And Aron had posted a little joke saying, my only vice is I drink Coca-Cola, but other than that, I'm an angel. And I was like, this guy has something more to him. He's got something more to him. So the conversation got a little bit more between us. And then I was living in New York at the time, and there was the Creation Convention in New Jersey, and I'd never been to a convention before. So I was like, well, and I had the Sunday off, and I was like, well, maybe I'll come out and we could meet in person for the, just to say hi. And then he reached out and was like, well, do you want to have lunch? And I was like, oh, okay, sure. And I'm like, can I bring a friend? Because, I just want to keep things safe. And then, so I went with my friend to the New Jersey convention, and the first thing he made me do after I met him was play a prank on Anthony Montgomery. And because he knew I was an actress, so he's like, I want you to play this prank with me. We've had this running joke because there had been several people that had approached his table before, Anthony's table before, that had mistaken him for Tim Russ.
It's like 20 years difference there.
Yeah.
So he's like, I want you to go up to him and say, oh my gosh, I love you so much. I love you so much. I loved you in Voyager. So I did that. I go up to the table, and Anthony was all about it until I said, I loved you in Voyager. And then he was like, his face dropped, and then he went right at Aaron because he knew.
He knew.
Yeah, that was my first meeting of Aaron. And then the lunch was a great conversation, and we had a great time that day, and we bonded over hand sanitizer.
He loved his hand sanitizer.
Well, yeah, he was eating a cookie, and he had eaten the whole cookie except for the one piece of it, and he had put it down on the counter, the table. And I said, what's wrong with that piece? And he's like, oh, I don't have any hand sanitizer, so I can't clean my hands, so I'm not going to eat that piece. And I was like, I do the same thing. So, yeah.
Wow, that was way before COVID. Yeah, that was
way before COVID.
Yeah,
so
he was germ conscious a long time ago.
Yes,
he was prepared.
Well, he had to be.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm going to just ask one further question.
Yeah.
And hopefully won't embarrass you. Obviously, you were living in New York. He was living in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
When did you meet again? Did you come out to LA? Did you come out to New York again?
Yes. So something clicked after that first in-person meeting, and that doesn't happen for me. It rarely happens for me. I've dated maybe 2 people before Aaron in my life. So when something clicks, I sit up and take notice. So I sent him a message, say, I don't know if this is the same for you. If not, it's cool. We can be friends. And he messaged back. And so our first year together was long distance. And our first official date was the Vegas convention. So he asked me to go out, and it was a week-long first date. And it was like, it just was natural. It just felt so right. So.
Well, I can only say that after he met you, he of course had a very sad experience with his first marriage. And he was relatively sad. He was still up. But he was saddened by what had happened. And after he met you, Malissa, that sadness never showed up that I ever saw again. Mainly because a lot of times we were all at the conventions together. You were sitting right next to him, and he was a very happy boy. He was a very
Yeah. Well, yeah. We learned very quickly that being together was not very hard at all, and it's rare that you find a person that you can spend 24 hours a day, 7 days a week with, and you don't want to shoot. So, and Aaron was definitely that for me. So, and yeah, and
thank
yeah,
you. Good. Because I didn't know, and I was kind of curious. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah.
Melissa, you also mentioned. I was just going to say very briefly that you mentioned your acting, and Titus Moeller, our good friend and associate producer, says, hey, I didn't know Melissa acted. He just said that in the comments. And I do want to give you a bit of a compliment that I've worked with Melissa a few times on set. And not only does she completely light up a set, she's got a great smile, and she's She always looks great on camera, and whatever she's doing, she does a great job. But she's also the kind of actress that you want to work with because she's happy to be there. She's professional, she's fun, she's easy, she doesn't get in the way, she knows, set etiquette, and she's just great to work with. So anybody that's out there, by the way, Malissa just recently joined the Actors Union. So
congratulations.
Yay.
just put that out there for when productions get started up again.
Yeah. That was a long time coming. I've been trying for a long time to get into the union. So decades, in fact. So
wow.
It is a milestone. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And what were you saying, Cirroc? Sorry.
No, I just wanted to echo Armin's sentiment about how Malissa really completed Aron, and I think brought out the best in him. You guys were so good together, and it's almost like I can't remember him without you, if that makes any sense. So I just think that you guys were just so good together, and a very good compliment to him and his personality, Malissa. And also wanted to compliment Armin for also having a very great significant other who compliments him in Kitty, who we love tremendously as well. So I want to give a shout out to the great Kitty.
Yeah,
I will shout out to Kitty a little bit later and tell her, and I'll give her all of your regards. Yes, it's hard to be with someone. You're absolutely right, Malissa. When you said it, I had a sudden thought. It's hard to be with someone 24/7 and not want to kill them. And after, what is it now, 42 years of marriage, we judiciously spend time apart, but when we're together, we're most of the time.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, you have those moments where it's like, okay. I need my time right now. But yeah, it was rare that I didn't want to come home and say, tell him everything. And he is one person that I've spent hours and hours and hours and hours and hours on the telephone with. And that doesn't happen for me either, because I hate talking on the phone. So, and that was a clue that I found somebody special too. So,
and did you help him with the videotaping as well?
Yeah, I did. I worked with him in his videography company, filming and editing. So, yeah.
I bet you were very good as an editor.
Well, it's kind of fun if you like what you're editing. Sometimes I begrudgingly go into an edit and then I get into it and I was like, oh, I found the love story. Now it's wonderful. Now I love editing. So finding the love story helps. Yeah.
Malissa, very quickly, here's a few people that want to congratulate you on your acting and your SAG recent.
Carly, yay.
And by a few people, I mean like 100.
Bien Chevalier.
Yes. We can wait. See them all. We can wait.
She deserves it.
Cat. Who is that cute little cat? Oh,
a Wooble-G. Nice.
Anyway, there really is a lot of people. So.
It's really a lot. It was really a lot.
Good
wow.
job, Malissa. It's going to go on forever. Anyway.
Thanks.
Ryan, do you remember when Aron used to text emojis and you said he would do like 7 at a time?
Exactly. He always did 7. Now, if Homer Frizzell is watching, I don't know if he's there, but I think also John Tuffarella, who is watching, will remember this. Aron's favorite emoji, and Malissa obviously can correct me if I'm wrong here, but Aron's favorite emoji was the tilted, laughing, crying face, and he would do 7 of them. every time for whatever reason, he would do 7 of those when you would do like the laughing, crying face, 7 of them. So now sometimes when like Homer and I talk with each other or whatever, we'll give the 7 that there's. If you do the laughing, crying face, there has to be 7
do it.
or you're not doing it right.
Yeah.
Well, he liked that one and the one that goes like this. You know.
Yeah. He didn't send that one.
No.
I got that a lot. Sorry, guys. That was the one he sent to me.
I think you got a different emoji, Cirroc, one that involved a hand gesture, probably from him.
Yeah, there was plenty of those around.
Yeah, he sent those
There
your
was
way.
plenty of those. Yes, the one finger salute is what we would call that.
Yeah.
There it is.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's exactly. That's exactly how we would send them too.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I remember Aaron's calling back and forth. Sometimes he'd call you. He'd get on the phone. He'd say, "Yeah, I want to ask you. What do you think about this?" We hang up the phone. He calls back in 2 minutes and says, "One more thing. I forgot to ask you." Then he's like, "Okay."
Yeah.
And then he calls you back in 2 minutes and he's like, "Just one last thing."
Mm-hmm.
And you're like he was constantly thinking about, his mind was like constantly working.
Yeah. Always.
You know, that was one of my favorite things about Aaron, though, honestly, was that he called so often that, and it was, at least once a day, 1 to 7 times a day for me when we were working together. He called so often that it made it very easy if I had to go to a different meeting or I had a call on the other line. I could just be like, "Hey, let me call you back later," because it's not that big of a deal. I know I'm going to talk to him later today or tomorrow, and it made it very easy. But if you only talk to somebody once a week or once a month, for example, then there's kind of like a lot of pressure to like stay on the phone and finish that entire conversation. But with somebody that has this open, revolving door of communication, you can call whenever you need to. You can go whenever you need to. It really took the pressure off. And I really actually appreciated that. And I didn't realize it until he was always calling. And I was like, this is actually really good. I thought it would be annoying to have somebody call me all the time, but it's actually great because it just makes it so easy to just, send out that information. And then if you got to go, you got to go. No big deal.
And he was always aware of other people's feelings. He was always very sensitive to that. About, you have large antenna about sussing out what people were thinking and how they're reacting. And he would immediately respond if he felt that he had overstepped.
Mm-hmm.
It's very good that way.
He was so good at that, Armin. You're so right. I mean, instantly he would say, "You know what? I just said this, and I think I said it wrong, and I just want to run it by you. I want to, apologize. I didn't mean it like that." And even if you didn't,
Right.
notice what he was saying, if you had no idea what he's even talking about, he'd bring it back up and say, "Yeah, when we were on stage and we did the panel, and I said this, I didn't mean it you personally. I meant in general." And and I would be like, "No, Aaron, it's totally cool. I'm not even thinking about that."
And then he would ask me.
Adamant. Yeah.
And then he would ask me, "Do you think they were offended? Do you think maybe they took it the wrong way? Are you sure? Are you sure they weren't mad? Are you sure?"
Right.
Yeah. He was very.
He cared that much. He cared about not offending people, not hurting your feelings, and we need more of that in the world. Because there's too much offense happening. There's too much carelessness happening. And that is just one quality that if you're considerate of people and you put yourselves in their shoes and you think about their perspective, even if you're wrong and even if you're being hypersensitive or, just, making sure, double checking even when there's no problem, that's a good thing. That's something that we can all benefit from. Just people who really take that time to consider how their words impact people and how it could negatively hurt a relationship between people. He was so adamant about not being offensive, and I think that he should be commended for that.
I totally agree. Now I have a question for both of you, all three of you. Do you think he was sensitive to that because during the course of his own life, he had been offended? he had people say things that were less than perfect. I know he was always sensitive about his height, and perhaps people had been unkind, not knowing, or perhaps they had been, but perhaps he was very sensitive because he had been the victim in several instances. Do you think that's a possibility?
I know it is.
Mm.
Yeah. He was sensitive about his height, and in regards to not feeling as though people really acknowledged his presence as much as others. And so he was sensitive as well when people spoke to him or spoke around him, or just certain things that people would say about him that were sometimes unkind. And it was like, I know that he was sensitive while we were together. I was oblivious, but he was sensitive of when people looked at us while we were holding hands, and because I guess we got some looks like, what's she doing with him, but yeah, I was oblivious to it, but he was sensitive to it. And I think that his sensitivity to the way people reacted to him sometimes made him ultra sensitive to how he came across to other people. So
Yeah.
I know that's.
I just want to throw in one little piece about that, because Armin, when you asked the question, I felt like the obvious answer was that yes, that was the case. But part of me thought, honestly, that it was just kind of the person he was as well. Like, I feel like even if he were 6 feet tall, he still had that good heart, and people with a good heart don't want to hurt people. And now I didn't see him as closely or intimately as Malissa did, so he probably would confide in her those kinds of things. But from what I saw, it came from just honest, genuine places as well. And I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, he had a good heart. I'm just wondering if he was a little bit more sensitive because of some of the things that we talked about. As I said, we talked a lot about craft. I'm sure with each of us, he had various things that he focused on. With me, it was pretty much craft, about career and progressing in his career and playing characters that he wanted to play. And he was frustrated by the fact that the business saw him as a short person and kept him from parts that he thought he could play because people only saw him in a certain way. And as all of us who are actors know, Ryan, I don't know your acting background, but now I know Melissa's, and I know and Cirroc's. We all get pigeonholed. We all get put into places, and people only see us a certain way because of either what we look like, or what we've done before, or whatever chromosomes that we have, and we all get pigeonholed into things. And Aron certainly felt stymied by his height.
Yeah. Cirroc, as someone who's 6'11", would you like to add to
this? Yes. No, I never looked at Aron as a small person. I thought he had a big heart, and his personality was certainly bigger than a lot of big people that I know. So there was no compromise in that regard. But one thing I feel like in some instances he would do is when he played this poking fun game where he would kind of play around with people and just to see, I felt like it was a feeler to see if they would respond back by being mean and demonstrative towards him and say the kinds of things that, would make him say, okay, so now I know that you're that type of person. You're a person who, is going to do the short jokes or whatever it is. And so I feel like he would play with people to see how they would respond and then gauge whether they were a bully or somebody that was going to talk talk about him, in such a way. And after he would gauge those responses, he would say, okay, this guy is a good person. He's genuine. He's not going to bring my shortcomings up and use them to kind of diminish who I am as a person. He's just cool with playing along with my jokes, and he's not personally offended by them and taking it too far to heart. So I think it was a way for him to kind of measure and gauge each person to see, whether they were, bad people or if they were going to respond to him badly. What do you think, Melissa?
Yeah, and I think that was an unconscious thing, but I agree that it was a way to gauge what kind of person you are. I know that if he found that he couldn't joke with you, then he wouldn't, but he probably wouldn't spend much time with you either. Right. So, and if he didn't love you, he probably wouldn't poke fun at you.
Right. He wouldn't poke fun of you if he didn't love you. Absolutely.
Exactly. So,
right.
Yeah,
right.
It was a sign of endearment that he thought you're an okay person if, he could joke around with you.
He didn't like dancing, and he always wanted me to dance. Every third conversation. I would look at him, I would give him that, give him that look, and I would say, no. It's not going to get me to do that. No. And he would keep trying, and he was endearing that way. He was very endearing.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
We've got a few quick comments here from Gobi Thoth. I think that's how you pronounce it. Just watched Deep Space Nine, The Explorers, and Little Green Men, two of my faves. Love Armin, Max, and Aaron in Little Green Men, and Avery and Cirroc and Explorers. Cirroc, we just reviewed that one. And Little Green Men is coming up soon. Both awesome performances from all the actors. Also, TJ Jackson Bay, who we all know and love, out in Missouri. He had some very nice, kind words to say about Aaron, and I'll have to find that comment again, but I lost it right now. But Malissa, the thing that Aaron probably heard the most at Star Trek conventions, let's see, it's Glenn Helwig says, I'm a veteran, and Aaron's portrayal of Nog in It's Only a Paper Moon helped me out a lot. I will always be grateful to him. And it's my understanding, right, Malissa, that Aaron never got tired of hearing that.
Never. Yeah. No. He wore that as a badge of honor, and was felt blessed that he could be that for somebody else, somebody who is suffering from PTSD, and that wasn't his intention going in. Obviously, he was just, playing the part, being in the moment, and telling the story that he thought Nog was going through, but he loved hearing from veterans, and would spend hours with them if he could.
And one of the nice relationships that Aaron had was with Jimmy Darren, and I believe that episode cemented something, a true friendship between the two of them. Jimmy has nothing but rave reviews for Aaron. One of the people I was talking about earlier is on that, is Jimmy. And because Aaron was so genuine with Jimmy, and Jimmy has gone through a lot of actors in his career, but I believe he had a very special place in his heart for Aaron. And Aaron probably had for him as well. I'm sure.
Yeah, definitely. And actually, the first time I met Jimmy, he was like, now, you take care of him, and he kind of warned me not to hurt Aaron.
Or else.
because he's a special human, and yeah, which I thought was wonderful.
There is no greater thing. From our discussions about craft, I think what you just said about him, and we all acknowledge about him in that episode, is what every actor strives for. That your performance has made a difference in people's lives. If you can do that, and we talked about this often, if you can do that, then you going into this profession was worthwhile.
Mm.
Yeah.
Despite all the ups and downs, financial ups and downs, everything else that goes with it, the rejection, the acceptance, all of that. If you can move someone so that they have an epiphany about themselves and about life in general, then you have done your job as an actor. And Aron in that episode has done that, extremely so.
Yeah.
And if you can do it with just one person, it's significant. If you can just change one person's life and affect them in a great way. But Aron has done that for so many people.
Right.
I can, the people that participate with us, Tim Baum and Rex Wood, those guys have drawn inspiration from Aron's story and for what he's represented, and even what he represented afterwards. So it wasn't just the performance that he delivered in that episode where he was courageous and had to battle his PTSD, but it was Aron, the person afterwards, who called people and followed up and showed that he cared about you and returned emails and asked how things were going in your life. Everybody on the outside, just like you mentioned, meeting him in the Facebook, commenting on a Facebook post. So here he was caring and being, actively involved in people who weren't in that episode or who didn't work with him on Star Trek, but the fans. And so I think that kind of compassion is just indicative of who he was and how he was able to change so many people's lives with his personality and his bigger than life persona.
Well, yeah, and his heart. He was, I believe he was an empath and felt what others felt, and which helped him in his craft as well. He was able to put himself in other people's shoes and look to see what might make them think a certain way, and he was curious about that. What makes people tick? Why do they choose this over this, or so there was a genuine curiosity about people, and that was great to see, and it's infectious. It's infectious.
And
I believe his lust for life was infectious. I think anyone who spent any time with him, even the minutest amount of time, suddenly had a great lust for life as he did. He just wanted to spend it as fully as he possibly could, and it's a shame he didn't get a little bit more time to do it. But I do believe he crammed in a lot in the lifetime that he had.
We've got two quick things here. First of all, I did find TJ Jackson Bay's comment. He's our associate producer. He says, Aron's spirit is so strong at the seventh rule that even though I never interacted with him, I feel as though I know him, and I definitely love Aron. And the second thing is Tamia Harper of our good buddies at the Sci-Fi Sisters. Armin, we're talking about a possible career change for you. I love Armin's interviewing skills, and Titus Moeller agrees. So I don't know. Maybe that's
there are a lot of things that I do on the side. Interviewing, I don't think is what I want to do.
But you could if you wanted to.
But you could.
I might be able to. I might be able to do it, but thank you. The answer is thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
And a quick story about Aron too that I want to tell. The last time I saw him in Creation in Vegas, I remember he called me and said, "Hey, we should go down to Creation, and are you going to be in Vegas for the convention?" And that particular year, I said, "No, I don't think they have room for me on the roster, and I don't know if I'm going to be coming." And Aron said, "Well, share my table. Like, I don't, you don't need a table. You can stay in my room. You can share my table." And I mean, just that generosity, the openness for that, that's not something that everybody's willing to do, and let them in their own personal space and say, "Hey, I'll split up my table for you to set up shop, or I'll let you stay in my room and you can stay with me. And that just shows you the kind of heart he had. And I actually went down there, even though I wasn't an invited guest and I wasn't on the roster. I went down to be with Aron because of that invitation. And that was the thing that made me feel welcome. So when I showed up, unannounced, they said, "Well, what are you doing here?" I said, "I'm here with Aron. I'm going to be sharing his
I'm with him.
I'm with that guy." So, just a really kind thing for him to do. He didn't have to do that. He doesn't have to do some of the things he does, but he goes over and beyond to just show you that he really cares.
Always.
He did something. I'm not sure if he did it all the time, but I saw it happen so often that I thought perhaps he did do it all the time. And both of you might be able to educate me a little bit better. When we do those conventions, we encounter thousands of people. And oftentimes people will say, well, somebody will come to the table and say to me, we met so-and-so. And I try to remember and, scratch my head and go, okay. But I believe Aron actually did remember everybody that he met. And not only did he remember them, but he seemed to always remember their names as well, which is amazing to me. Is that true? I mean, every time I looked over, he seemed to be knowing the people's names who just approached the table. And I went, how does he do that?
Yeah, he made it a point to try and remember everybody's name. And he felt disappointed in himself when he didn't. And sometimes he didn't. He couldn't, because you can't remember everybody's name. But he did make it a point to try and remember everybody's name and make a game out of it. So you're Yvette, and you're Jeremy, and you're 5-Job Jen. I don't know if she's on the feed, but that's how we met Jen.
And did he always take pictures of people so they could help him remember that he after they had asked for a signature, he would take a picture of them or something?
Well, he would take a picture if they asked for one, but there would be something about them that he would try and associate the name with. Like, he worked for NASA, so NASA Newman, I don't know. So he would make it a game and try and to remember the name along with a piece of information about them, which helped him remember them even more. So, yeah.
Amazing, truly amazing, because he must have encountered thousands upon thousands of people.
Oh, yeah.
Malissa,
and he even remembered some people from Facebook and Twitter just by their pictures. He's like, oh, yeah, we talk on Twitter. Oh, we talk on Facebook. And so, yeah.
You're the guy with the cat pictures. Did he ever say, oh, yeah, I totally get you? And then he looks over at you, I don't know who that is.
No, he's never.
Wow.
And if he couldn't remember somebody's name, he'd say, I'm sorry, I can't remember your name. So he would acknowledge it. Yeah.
That's one thing I really loved about him too, is so like the genuineness was so real that if he didn't, he'd be like, no, I don't know you. I don't remember. And
sorry.
he wouldn't try to fake it. There was nothing really phony or fake about Aron Eisenberg.
Yeah.
If he would tell you whatever it was straight up, he wasn't a butt kisser trying to work his way up. He never did any of that. He would just, if he wasn't in a good mood that day, for example, you would know it. He'd just say, "Hey, what's up?" and keep himself going. But he wouldn't try to be phony and try to, be pretentious about things. I really love that about him as well.
Yeah, it was a breath of fresh air, and I think that's what drew me to him the most was his honesty and his genuine nature, and in his honesty, he was never unkind, ever. That was the furthest thing from his intent. He always wanted to be kind to people, always interested in helping them and knowing who they were. And so his honesty and genuine need to learn about people and and owning his own shortcomings.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Now,
rather than
Melissa, you remember Quan? Our
Oh,
friend Quan says,
and
first,
sorry.
is it her
Happy
birthday?
birthday to her daughter, who was born the same day Aron passed. So
Oh.
she's one. Catherine.
So she says, first, hi, Melissa.
Hi.
The first time I met Aron, I was too shy to come over to his booth. He coaxed me over and made me feel comfortable. And that kind of echoes what a lot of people have said about him.
Yeah. Quan is my good friend now, but she was a good friend of Aron's too. So
she's great.
Yeah.
So her daughter was born on that same day?
Mm-hmm. Her daughter was born at 5 a.m. on the 21st of September. And I called her not knowing that she had just given birth. And she's like, it was the best day and the worst day of my life. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't remember being so close to Rosh Hashanah last year, but this year kind of it stands out to me.
Yeah.
The year changes, Cirroc, so it's not always the same day. So there's a good reason why you wouldn't connect.
Okay.
But it is
Happy New Year to everybody, by the way.
Thank you very much. There is a tradition in the Jewish faith that someone that's very close to God will die on Rosh Hashanah. That is a special time, and so not only Aron, if I also may say, but also Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Right.
There's a special significance to passing away during the new year.
Interesting. Now, Anthony C. Says, Ryan, Armin, Cirroc, and Melissa, I would like to thank you all from the bottom of my heart for making this day happen today. You all have incredibly large hearts for making this so special for all of us, especially you, Melissa. I mean, it's must be so difficult for you, and we appreciate you kind of taking the time to commemorate our friend with us.
Yeah, I find that I enjoy talking about Aron a lot. It brings me comfort. I wasn't sure I was going to be able to do this today because, I had a few breakdowns at the beach, but that's what I was there for. So, to enjoy and just, feel all the feels. But yeah, I'm glad that I am able to be here, and because I want to, because everybody has shown so much love and support, and I can't even begin to thank each and every one of you, all of you, in this this family, this huge extended family. So, and it's a beautiful thing.
Melissa, you've been extremely strong throughout this, and I want to commend you for that, because that strength also allows us who are grieving to be strong as well. And I also want to say to the people that are listening that there are ways to support Melissa.
Yes.
Besides offering her a very good acting job, those of you that have the ability to. She's also very gifted artist, and Walking Art, is that the name of your?
Yeah, Walking Art made by Melissa, and yeah, it's been a fun challenge, big challenge, but
I'm adding it to the chat right now so people can check that out.
Thank you for the mask that you made for me. I wear it every day when I go out, and it works great. And everyone should have one of those. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah.
Also, one more message from our buddy TJ Jackson Bay. It's a short one. He says, "We love you, Melissa."
Aw, thanks, TJ.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Well, actually, there's a lot of "We love you, Melissas" now that there's a whole bunch of them.
Audrey. Yes, Carly. Yeah. Oh, I know that part. Kimber.
This is up in Larrickson out in Montana.
Yeah.
It's to keep track of.
Oh, okay.
Their names.
War Dogheim. That's what his handle is.
Bill,
Okay.
Bill, your bracelet is on the way.
And Taurus, I believe, is Russell Spicer. It's hard to remember all the different names.
The handles, yeah.
Tricky.
Yeah.
I think what you're doing with the walking art is really great. You've been able to also do a lot of homage for Aron with his sayings on T-shirts and the things that he loves. So I just love that you're doing that and spreading that around too.
Yeah, Aron's Corner. Yeah, it's a little way for me to keep him, a little bit of him out in the world, walking around, and I have some other stuff that it's coming soon, but there's a lot going on, so slow going.
Well, it's in my Star Trek experiences during the course of the year. I don't think there's, well, every other message that I get from people always sends their condolences for Aron and Renee, but certainly both of them, and everyone remembers Aron, not just fondly, but with great respect and awe and admiration and joy.
Yeah. Well, he certainly put that out there. And not just in the Star Trek world, but he was passionate about soccer as well. So, and he was an avid soccer coach, and he loved each and every kid that he coached, and loved learning the game, and was looking forward to getting his C license because he had gotten his D license. So, you know, he's very passionate about soccer. So, and the kids that he taught, he loved to teach kids.
I have a question about that. First, I want to say that Glenn Helwig says, I never met him in person, but he interacted with me on Facebook. He's like my younger brother. Much love, Malissa. And Demas Alvis says, love all you guys and miss Aron. We never met, but we talked on Facebook a few times. He was so kind and generous with his time. Thank you all for doing this tonight. With regards to soccer, was there ever something that, like a favorite play or something that he just always said or always hammered home, like, you got to get back on defense, or you got to go for was there like one pet peeve or favorite thing that he always said?
Open up. Because sometimes the boys would have a tendency to bunch, so he'd say open up was a big thing. And I don't know if there's anything else, but move the ball was the other thing. Is he didn't want one specific player to hold on to the ball. He wanted the ball to do the work, and everybody be a team and not just support the one player, that because it is a team sport. So he's like, move the ball, pass it, move the ball.
Malissa, well, I don't know the answer to this. Did Aron play a lot of soccer as well when he was growing up?
He played some soccer when he was growing up, and he played baseball. But he loved soccer because he likened it to chess. He saw it like a chess match, and the way that you would strategize moves before they happen, or plays before. So each player was a chess piece to, put into play, and that's why he liked it so much, is because of the strategy and thinking, always thinking, and maybe if we do this and this and this, we could do this. And so, that's why he liked soccer so much. But he played it a bit in his youth. But
it's a rough and tumble game. I played it in high school, broke my shoulder. With no disrespect to Aron, but being his height, that must have been difficult as a soccer player.
Well, that's why he only played it for a little while, as when he was a kid. As he got into his teenage years, he couldn't, because his kidney failed and he couldn't do much sports at all.
Right. And he didn't want to risk getting hurt.
Right.
You can easily get bumped and get hurt, as it happened to me as well.
Right, because he was on dialysis for several years during his growing time, which is why he was so small, is that he was on dialysis between, I want to say, the age of 14 to 17. So peritoneal dialysis. So as a teenager, he was changing his own dialysis bags.
Wow.
Yeah.
And at that time, I had a friend who was on dialysis about that same time. He's older than Aron, but it was not pleasant. It's never pleasant. It's a little bit better nowadays than it was then. Yeah. But at that time, my friend Peter told me it was horrible to be on dialysis.
Yeah, he made it work in his life as a kid. It did slow him down a bit, but not much. I mean, he was still pretty active. But talking to his mom and his best friend, who was, they had been friends at the time, seeing the difference between the dialysis and then getting his kidney transplant, it was like night and day. His first kidney, and it was the same with the second kidney. But yeah, it didn't slow him down much, but it did slow him down, and
I can't imagine anything slowing him down, but
yeah. And actually, he got so used to dialysis that he was afraid to go on the transplant list the first time around. Yeah. And then he had a friend who was on dialysis at the same time, and her mom was like, "You can't live like this for the rest of your life. You need to go on the list." And he said that the reason he doesn't think that he was afraid to go on the list before is because he knew he would get it a kidney right away, and it was almost immediately that they called him for a match. So yeah, he was lucky in that.
Speaking of kidney, two quick things. Number one, Crystal Hickerson says Captain Nog forever, which we always love to hear. And Dennis Koch up in Canada, great friend of ours and associate producer. He helps us a ton on social media. He says Aron's contribution to kidney disease awareness was awesome. That's something he really championed, and a lot of us were completely ignorant to that topic, and he really kind of mainstreamed it with us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before knowing Aron, I was completely ignorant of it as well. I got quite the education.
Did he have a favorite soccer team?
Man City.
Yep.
Man City, because Pep Guardiola is his favorite coach, so or was his favorite coach. So
okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, Cirroc, a couple other people asked that question too, so I'm glad that you asked it for us. Because a couple people in the comments also said that.
Yeah.
Cirroc, when did you find out that Aron wasn't
here, guys? I'm not able to charge.
Cirroc, I don't know if you heard me, but when did you find out on the show that Aron wasn't your age?
The first day I found out, I was just wrapping up. I may have only had a few lines that day, so I didn't have too much to do. And Aron got out of makeup. I probably had a couple hours of school to do. So it was the first time that I got to see him out of the makeup. And I think I was coming out of the hair trailer around there. I used to go in and out of there and play around the set a lot. But I'm coming down the steps. I remember out of the trailer, and I see Aron walking down the alley And he says, "Hey, what's up, Cirroc?" And I swear, I gave him this look, and I'm thinking, "Who are you?" You know? And he's like, "It's me, Aron." And even then, I didn't know. And he said, "Nog, it's me, Nog." And, and then I was just like, "Oh, but you're old. Like you're older than I
Grown
thought you were." Yeah, like I thought you were a kid like me, But he was older. He was receding hairline and things that would make you know that he was older. And so I said, "I thought you were a kid." And he was
Oh,
like, "No."
we all thought he was a
Yeah.
kid.
Yeah, he was like, "No, actually, I have a kid." I was like, "You have a kid?" Like, I couldn't even believe that part. So, um, but he's so young at heart, and he was so playful that I actually, even after I learned, it just didn't make a difference. At some point, I just felt like he was still my peer, my closest, close confidant. So, at some point, it just wore off. But I was surprised to see that Aron was like an adult, as opposed to an underage juvenile like me. But I thought it was crazy, and you know, it just kept us rolling right on. Though it didn't stop us from bonding. It just kept it going, and he was so gracious and so. Like he talked to me like I was an adult too. That was the thing. He didn't talk down to me like I was a kid, or he was talking to me like a peer. Hey, what do you think about my lines? Let's run the lines together. Let's do this. Let's practice the scenes. So I never felt like he was treating me like a kid. So I wouldn't treat him like an adult. So we would just meet in the middle right there. It was pretty good.
And it never, before you saw him coming at you out of makeup, it never occurred to you that he wasn't in class with you?
Oh,
Good point.
Well, that's a great point. It never occurred to me. No,
Okay.
never occurred to me. I probably thought he had his own studio teacher in his trailer. I knew nothing about the business. I didn't know, how, we were going to be filming, and then I'd have a trailer and the studio teachers and all of this stuff. This was all new to me too. So I was just thrown into it, and I was learning as we were going, but I couldn't have better teachers. I couldn't have better people to be around like you, Armin. You were so gracious and really the ambassador of our set and our show. You were the man that would, just the go-between for everybody. And I really appreciate that. And you were so gracious with me and my mom and my family. Tremendous big soft spot for us with you, Armin. And but I couldn't have better people to learn around than the group of people that we had. I mean, you talk about talent, and you talk about Renee Aubergenois, you talk about Avery Brooks, you talk about Nana Visitor, you talk about yourself, Armin, and there was just so many talented Sadiq. I mean, there was just so many talented people to learn from. If you had half a brain, and if you were paying attention at all, you should be able to pick up on so many different things just through osmosis. So I really was really honored to have that experience. But Aron felt like he was the closest to my age, even though he was older. He was still the closest. And because he was so young at heart, it made him even younger than his actual years. So I give him credit for that.
yeah.
There's something about wearing that makeup. It's like wearing a lampshade on your head. You can do wonderfully outrageous things because you're wearing that lampshade on your head. And so he was allowed to be a young kid. He was allowed to do that, and you probably inspired that in him as well. I know he loved working with you, so as we all did.
I did too. Yeah.
I loved it too. And, you can really tell by the worst moments that you have how strong a friendship is. That's how we really gauge our friendships. It's not the best times, because when you have happiness, when you've got a lot of money and things are great, it's not difficult to find somebody who wants to be around you. But when things are bad and when things are tough, that's when you realize who's really your friend and who's really going to be there for you. And Aron and I, in the acting world, had one of the most difficult scenes as actors when we were doing the self-sealing stem bolts in the cargo bay. And Armin, when you start doing 10, 15, 20 takes, people get really short with their patience and their nerves, and the real you is going to come out at some point. The real you is coming out. So even in those moments, he was still able to find the happiness, laugh about it, and we never turned on each other. We didn't find that and say, all right, this is the moment. It's your fault. Learn your lines, get it right. We were there together saying, don't worry, we'll get through this. Let's just figure this out, because everybody else on the set hates us right now, but we're in this together. And that's when we realized, we were in this together. It was us. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think we'll do this for a few more minutes, right? We'll maybe do it for 5 or 10 more minutes here. What were you going to say, Armin?
I only said it was a great relationship the two of them had. It was a wonderful relationship. You could see the love between them on the screen. I wasn't there usually when they were filming. I was probably off at Buffy somewhere. But you could see it on the screen. You could see it, that the love that they had between the two of them, and that they could joke around with each other. The very thing that you're talking about that happened off camera was certainly there on camera as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they're referring to yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a lot of takes on that one. We drove Les Landau crazy. I think he refused to do any more episodes that we were in. I don't think I worked with him again. He said, no, I don't want to be in there with them. But,
as opposed to David Livingston, who always did 50 takes. Whether he
that was a whole nother thing. Just one more, just a different way. One more time.
Yeah, how many different ways do you expect it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Now, our friend Ensign Ricky says, can't believe it's already been a year. This has been great so far, a fitting tribute to such an amazing person. I miss him and everyone. Oh, good job, everyone.
Yeah.
It is surprising the years gone by. The problem is when you get to be my age, they go faster and faster and faster. So this year has been incredible. Yeah. When you got in touch with me, Ryan, I went, it can't be a year. It can't be done.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know. I'm just like, it's a year already? Wow. It just, some days it's like, okay, I can see that. And other days I'm like, okay, when's he walking through the door? So it's strange.
Does that still happen, Malissa? That something out of the corner of your eye and you forget for a second? I know that I've never had children, so that's, but certainly pets of mine. I'm not equating Aron with pets, but I know that sometimes something will happen and go, oh no, can't be so, can't be.
Yeah.
Yeah, it especially happens when I'm watching a TV show and I'll like, babe, and then I'm like, oh yeah, he's not here to say babe, so I just blurt it out anyway. Babe, where are you?
And he may be right there anyway. Just because you can see him doesn't mean that he isn't there.
Yeah.
That's the one thing you learn from sci-fi.
Yeah. Well, and I have felt his presence a lot, even though he's not physically here. I've felt him a lot in many situations, and just, yeah. The dreams are good. The dreams are good when they happen.
I one of the closest people I lost in my life was my grandmother. And there's a few items that I've kept to remind me of her. One is a scarf that she wrapped her head with, and one is a empty bottle of perfume that she would wear. And so when I really get in a missing my grandmother mood, I'll find that perfume and I'll just, keep it by my nose and smell it and think about her. Is there something like that gives you a little bit of comfort and joy?
The whole house is like that because I haven't really gone through a lot of it. I've taken a lot of time to do that, so the whole house still has Aron pretty much everywhere. So just starting to go through his clothes and stuff. So, but his lotion, oh my gosh.
Yeah, the smells, right? There's a smell.
Squirt some of his lotion, or I need some lotion and I'll squirt it. I'm like, oh, it's Aron.
Well, scent is the sense that's most closely linked to memory. So if you smell a familiar smell, it can take you all the way back to when you were like 6 years old at this one park or something like that, or a person that you haven't seen in a long time.
Yeah.
So that's a great way to keep the memory of somebody alive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of lotion everywhere, so. Yeah. He had it everywhere. So.
You're going to have to pick that up, Malissa. You're going to have to.
I know. And I'm going to have to let go. Slowly but surely, in little ways, and they're minute baby steps, but they're happening very slowly.
It must be very difficult, and we all of our hearts go out to you. It must be very difficult, and living in the house must be very difficult.
So many memories, but those memories have been kind of like a warm blanket in a sense. And during the day, it's been okay. It's nighttime when I go to sleep that I miss him, So it's gotten better as the year has progressed, but there's still those times when I'm just like, reach over, oh, where are you?
Years ago, when I was a child, if that's possible, but years ago, I was a child and was a fan of Simon and Garfunkel. There was an album, and there's just a piece where people are just talking. Old people are talking, and the sound of the voice is still in my head. So I'm going to ask you if what those people say happens to you. The old person on the record says, I still sleep on the same side of the bed. Are you still on the same side of the bed?
Yes. I think last week I had an arm and a leg that went over, but yeah, I'm still on the same side of the bed. Yeah.
It's funny. I think that's our way of keeping them close to us, is that we give them their space on that side of the bed.
Yeah. Yeah. It's nice. Yeah. I have his pillow though. Yeah.
Take it over.
Have his pillow.
If anybody was wondering if Aron was here watching us, Tiffany Sobzak has evidence that he is. She says, Cirroc has had only one tech blip. Aron is definitely watching over.
Oh, yes. He's making sure the comms are secure. Thank you.
For once. Yeah, he's like, all right, you can have this one.
Yes. As long as he doesn't get me to dance, we'll be fine.
Oh, yeah, that was great.
Oh, yes. Mochi has been a great cuddler.
Yeah.
She's been quite the blessing, actually.
And your assistant, too, right? With all your artwork.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah. My assistant, when she's not trying to eat the thread or, attack my hands or eat. Aw. Yeah.
Well, if you guys have any final words that you'd like to say before we close this out, feel free.
Well, I will say what I said to Malissa when we first came on. Because I have this card of Aron on my desk, not a day goes by, not an hour practically goes by, that I don't see his shining face, and I think of him, and he makes me smile.
Me too. I've got that picture too. It's a really good one.
It is a good one. And I'm so sorry that I wasn't there for the memorial story.
Oh, yeah.
I sent, as Cirroc will tell you, I sent my better half, and
yes, she
Kitty,
represented it well. Absolutely, she's awesome.
She is amazing. A Wonder Woman. We love her very much.
She said it was a lovely time. People got together, and it was a horde of people. She told me so. A lot of people came to send their regrets, and I'm sorry that Hamlet kept me away.
Sometimes Shakespeare does that, Yeah.
Heather Jordan has Aron's best worst joke that he was the most proud of. Faux schnitzel.
Faux schnitzel.
That was his favorite. That was
restaurant,
his favorite.
right?
Oh, I was there when he came up with that.
Yeah.
I was there when he came up with that joke, and I was like, Aron, no. Aron,
he loved it.
Because
he loved it.
Yeah. We were.
He loved bad jokes, which is why you and Ryan got along so well together. Right?
Yeah. and the worse you reacted to the joke, the more he liked it.
Yes.
Yes.
He's like, ooh, I got a fun one.
Yes.
Yeah. We kept passing those faux restaurants in Vegas, and then he's like, wait a minute, faux schnitzel. What about a faux restaurant with Wiener schnitzel? We could call it faux schnitzel. Like, oh, Aron.
My little party.
Let's laugh. I think he would be very happy.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can't help but think that Aron, really saw this day coming. I felt like he put all of this in place because he had some kind of premonition about the days that he wouldn't be here. And he wanted us to join together. He wanted us to celebrate together. He wanted to make sure that we stayed connected. So I just can't help but think that he masterfully crafted all of this so that we would be here celebrating him a year after together and sharing these stories. So I just think that his genius, it really travels that far ahead.
Well, he manured the ground so that people would be joyous about whatever happens after. And we're all here for a short period of time. So it's good to manure the ground so that people will have days like this to smile and laugh and remember the good things, and be very hard pressed really to remember anything that was bad. And that's, you talk about living together and we all live together and work together. And I can tell you bad times for everybody on the set, but not for Aron. I really got stumped if I tried to think, was there ever a moment where we had a problem? No. As opposed to Max. Who I adore Max, but Aron, there was never ever any joy. Always joy.
Yeah.
Oh, Michael Chiklis shout out, I see.
I know.
Yeah, I know. I show it, but it's for him. For Aron, we got to do it. Last thing, Starship Trooper asks Malissa, what was that song he liked to sing on road trips?
Oh, Werewolves of London.
Warren Zevon, a San Jose product.
Oh,
Ooh.
yeah.
Yeah.
It was a beautiful thing that I believe, Malissa, you were the one that said that at his memorial, you told the story about that. And you said, so for Aaron, one last time, can we all give it an ow? And I believe it was Jeff Combs that really took that one over and led the audience. He's like, woo.
Everyone howled.
Put us into shape.
Yeah.
That was a very good service that you gave, Malissa. Really well done. I love the pictures. I learned so much about him that I didn't even know. And seeing those young pictures of him, you know, playing soccer and the young acting headshots that he had, it was so pleasing and such a really good tribute to his life. So thank you for that too, Malissa. You did a great job.
Thank you. Thanks. It was something that I never even imagined having to do. You know, it's not soon, not anytime soon. So it was quite an overwhelming time, and I'm glad it worked. And big shout out to Levi who let us use one of the theaters at the Chinese theater. That was wonderful, and all the people that came that were able to be there, that was great too. So
big love to Levi.
Yeah.
So last thing as we go here, everybody wants to get theirs in as well.
Ooh.
Yes. And I'm going to put that on a t-shirt.
Nice. Okay. So with that, let's thank you all very much, everybody at home, for joining in. We had a ton of people join in. We really appreciate, Armin, you taking the time out, and Malissa, you're the strongest person in the world, and you're always a beacon of light and joy for us on and off camera. And Cirroc, you know you're the best partner, so whatever. You already know that.
I love you too, brother.
But yes, it's all thanks to Aaron. So thank you all for joining us.
And always remember the 7th rule.
And always remember, ow!
Ow! Keep your ears open. Thanks, Aaron, for that.
All right.
Awesome. Cool.